usual, it's all never scripted. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of CoachesCorner.health. I am here with my co-host and co-founder, Andy, the unconditional coach. I am Leslie Gadet. I'm your mindset and emotional awareness coach. And we are here to talk to you guys about reality TV. And I'm excited about it. I'm here cold. I told Andy I did not prepare, not even one question. I just want to get into it and just see where the conversation takes us.
Right. Yeah, I'm in the same position. The closest I got, because it's my job to set up the descriptions for these things. So the closest I got to preparing was writing the description. So that's the prep. We're both kind of cold for this conversation. And when we picked the conversation in the first place, we kind of had a 5-minute conversation about possible subjects we could talk about. And that was a really long time ago.
Yes, it was. It truly was. But this is a great topic. And the reason why I say I find it a great topic is because I have just had experience myself, really, of reality TV. For me, it's very strange because I remember in the way in the beginning when it was real. I think it was called Real something. I can't remember, something real. Where it was just a house full of college students, and they were just testing the market, like what it would be like if people would even be interested in watching reality TV. Right. And all of a sudden now you see it. You could have a reality TV show about plumbing. You could have it about somebody who does finger painting. I mean, it doesn't matter. Whatever the topic is, there's always an audience. And I know just for myself, like I have to, like, I'm spoiler alert, I am going to admit that I am a Real Housewives. I'm a junkie. I can't help myself. It's like I say, I'm just going to watch one episode to see what it's about. And I get instantly hooked. So let's talk about it. Because I just think there is this fascination of, like, what are they doing that makes you just want to, like, come back for more?
Right. And see, for me, I like the sciencey ones, or the construction ones, and of course, I loved MythBusters, right? Yeah. And so I like the ones where I learn something that I'll probably never use in my real life.
True.
It's just interesting, right?
Yeah. No, I like those ones too. I mean, anything that is educational, reality TV. Well, I mean, and do you really call that reality TV because it's educational? So I don't know if I would put that in the same category as reality TV. And the reason why I say that,
they're usually things like Undercover Boss.
Yeah,
that's reality TV, and it's educational because I'm learning about the company.
That's true.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. And so, it's funny how there's, like, so much out there that TV has it's really taking a turn. This from fictional stories that we used to all show up for, like soap operas, and they still have a following. I'm really not so sure how much, because I haven't really asked anyone. I've never really been a soap opera person. Except nighttime soaps, if that makes sense, like, Knots Landing, Dallas, those types of things.
Yes.
But I'm curious as to that. Yeah. So we just wanted to, like, rant for a second, but our experience around it. But really, this is about how is reality TV affecting relationships? Because I know, for example, that there has been comments in my home about you're watching those shows, right? That whole air quotes goes around those, and it hasn't really negatively affected because I don't allow it to, like, interfere. But I'm just curious, like, what are your thoughts around that?
So, reality TV, and especially in reality TV in concerning relationships, they First of all, there's kind of two big main ways. I'm sure there's 1,000 ways, but there's two main ways that I can think of where reality TV can affect relationships. One is like any other version of TV. What do we want to watch? I don't like the reality TV you want to watch, and you want to watch, and I want to watch a different reality TV, and you don't like mine, or that could be a conversation we might have with our spouse, right, or our roommates or partners or whatever. And that's the basic one. But the one that's more I think relevant to the kind of conversation the around the expectations that we tend to talk about on this channel is how do those TV shows that we watch affect our expectations in our relationship? How do they affect what we expect, hope for, or desire from our partner or from ourselves? For example, I lived with a person who watched a lot of Food Network, and therefore I just assumed that we would have a lot of variety of foods, and we didn't. I ate a lot of Kraft Dinner and hot dogs, but we watched a lot of TV that was yummy.
Yeah.
Right. So it can change your expectations, especially if you get into the relationship reality TV shows. The first one I can think of is Big Brother, but there are many, many of them. There's another one I just saw recently where they don't even get to see each other. They're just stuck in rooms until then they have to decide who they're going to marry based off of conversations, having never ever seen each other.
That's true. And there's the other one about Married at First Sight too. Yeah, those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and those can have major effects on relationships, right? Mm-hmm. First of all, the participants, because this is reality TV, so they're real people actually getting married or actually doing the thing that is about the TV show. And second of all, the producers of the show choose certain types of people to build certain types of relationships, because plain old TV, plain old live doesn't sell, doesn't create good TV. Nobody wants to hear a reasonably decent, boring relationship on a TV show week after week after week. Nobody's going to watch that. So they pick ones where there's going to be some drama, there's going to be some good times, and there's going to be some bad times, and the bad times are going to be horrible, and the good times are going to be especially fun. So they're looking for drama, they're looking for high emotion, they're looking for high content. So when we watch reality TV, it's not actually a representation of reality. It's just a representation of what makes good TV. Right. That's my thoughts on the subject.
Yeah, ratings, of course, because what they want to have their show is on TV, and the rating is important, obviously, to the success of the show. Number one, for it to be watched, obviously, to get a high count of people watching it, but to also have it be repeated another season. So yeah. And the one thing, and so talking about let's talk about those, because we've got the Married at First Sight, we've got that other one I know that you were talking about. I've seen previews. I don't recall the name of that show, but they get to know each other over a period of time just talking. I actually do love the fact about the just talking part. My thing that I am not so much on board with is, okay, now you're just talking, but I feel like you should meet first before you have to make that all important decision, right?
Right.
Because it's, again, beauty is only skin. I mean, it is only skin deep, as they say. However, there still is that overall attraction, and you might be attracted to a person on the inside, which is obviously, I think, most important. But there's still the next stage of it is usually you want to see a person and to get to know them too. And typically if someone's only having that conversation and they don't know what someone looks like, or vice versa, they're online, and so all they do is they talk online, but they've never met in person, there's still the whole reality of spending time together outside of the show. So how does that affect them, really? You see how they go through what they do when they do get married, like these ones, the Married at First Sight. When they do get married, they go on their honeymoon, and then they come back and they're right away just pushed right into that whole life of, okay, you're husband and wife. You're supposed to be living in the same place. You have to make it work. And so they're cramming, even if it's, look, I got married after 9 months, but
Right.
I still had 9 months
Of
of
getting to
getting
know
to
someone.
know someone before I walked down the aisle. Whereas they have had no time because they've walked down the aisle to get married. And that's the first time they meet each other. So that fascinates me that people would sign up for that. What is that draw, do you think?
Well, and that's the kind of the question that they ask when they build these shows, right? What
Mm-hmm.
is the draw, and what can we do to draw somebody in? And that's kind of the mentality of reality TV. It's basically it's a way for us to experiment with something. I think for the contestants, it's often a way for us to, well, to get paid first of all, um, and second of all to I mean there's a certain amount of fame that comes with being on TV, so people are attracted to that, and many people are willing to do, you know, things that aren't normal, that they wouldn't normally do to be on TV. So there's that attraction, but I think there's also some. I think it also takes a level of curiosity, a level of adventure, a level of certain people just like to try new things, just to like to try. I just watched a video actually before this one. I was watching a video of a lady who hit a million likes on her channel, and so she just did an ask me anything kind of a video, and she's never done that before. Um, or sorry, a million subscribers. But anyways, one of the questions was what do you like to eat? And she says, honestly, I'm one of those people that if it looks disgusting and it smells gross, I'll probably try it just to see what it tastes like. There are some people who just want to do weird things just to see what they feel like, what it's like. So I think that's one of the reasons that they would be on TV. I mean, there's many reasons why people would be on TV, but the question I want to ask is, why would people watch them? So what's your thoughts on that?
And so I think I'm a good candidate for that. And I think partly it's because this is, for me, it's almost like watching something that, how could this possibly be real? And so I have to it's like you want to keep watching something that's happening in front of you. You want to turn away, but you can't because it's happening in front of you and you don't want to miss it, but you don't really want to look. And so I think that's part of it because, for example, I'll tell you which ones I watch. The Real Housewives of Atlanta, The Real Housewives of Potomac, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Then there's the one for Orange County. Like I got like right into them. I pretty much watched them all. Even Salt Lake City, Utah has one now.
Nice.
And I started watching it and I thought, how is it possible that women who are this wealthy go on national television and behave badly? And for me, it's like, if that's a platform that you want to be on, especially because, I mean, is this where you feel entitled to be able to react the way you want to? Or is that really how you are and you don't care? Or, I mean, like, what is that for them? And then, so for me, I'm so fascinated by these women and having this lifestyle that they live, and they talk about the hardships of being a mom and trying to juggle it all, and having the business and the husband and the kids and all of that. And I start thinking about that I really, and I'm not trying to bash them, but I really do have a lot of female friends who are, whether they're single moms or they are in a relationship and they have kids, that it's a struggle. It's a real struggle. And it's not the, they don't have all of those extra things to help them. Money does help, I think, more,
A
because
lot.
then you can hire the nannies, and one of them, I remember, she had like 3 nannies. For example, one of the shows, Real Housewives of New York, one of the not characters, but one of the women, every time I see her, she's got different interns. She's like maybe got 5 or 6 at a time. And I'm thinking, what are these individuals doing? Does one person need all of that? And so that's what I think is the draw, as for me anyways, is to watch how it fascinates me how these women live their lives. And it just goes to show that money doesn't make you better than
Right.
someone else. So people who don't have could be maybe more kind, might be more kind than you are, but you just happen to be in a different tax bracket. And so
Yeah.
it just fascinates me there. So
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
people watching it, I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's my take.
That's good. To answer the one question, I definitely need 6 personal assistants because I'm just that needy. But that's just me.
Okay.
But I probably would not put that on TV. However,
Okay. I don't think I
um,
would need that. I'd love one. I would
yes,
love to have
yes,
one assistant
yeah,
for
to
sure.
do some bookings and things like that, like to do things
Hmm.
that we just don't want to do, like
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no. As far as as far as the drive to watch them, the drive to participate, I think it speaks a lot about our world because I was just thinking about this as you were talking. I think a lot of people like to live in someone else's world,
Hmm.
good or bad. I'll live in someone else's horrible world so I don't have to live in my own because I don't know how to deal with it, or I don't know what to do with it, or I don't want to deal with it, or I want to escape it, or whatever. There might be reasons that I want to live in someone else's world, and it doesn't matter how good or bad that world is. It's not my world, right?
Sure.
It's the same reason. It's the same thing for people who read a lot, or you know, travel a lot, or there are many other things that people do to live out of their own life, to not live in their own life. um, you know Besides, of course, the obvious one being addictions. A lot of people are addicted to drugs and alcohol and various other things in order to not live their own lives. And I think it's a similar, I don't say it's an addiction, of course, but I do believe it's a similar kind of a purpose. They're trying to, it's a kind of escapism, or maybe it's a, living vicariously through somebody else. Maybe like the Real Housewives that you're watching, maybe people are watching them to see, that rich people aren't really better off. I mean, yeah, they have more money, they have more cars, they have more nannies, but that doesn't mean they're happier, nicer, better people. I can feel good about being miserable to my coworkers because they're miserable to everybody,
Hmm.
right? So it's a way for us to feel good about ourselves. It's like there's just so many things that we can do, that we can live vicariously through someone else. And that's essentially, I believe, what the purpose of reality TV is to allow us to live vicariously through someone else. We can experience things we wouldn't normally be able to experience, and they're not in a fantasy make believe fictional world, which is where most entertainment has been for the last, whatever it's been,
Hmm.
hundreds of years. um, most entertainment's been fictional. It might have been a part of the real world, but it's still fictional characters and fictional situations. And this is reality. So there, and I think that's where my issue with it is it isn't really reality. It's the producers of the show are not looking to show examples of real life. They're looking to show extreme versions of real life,
Yeah.
right? Like even when you go down to, like the cooking shows, or the gardening shows, or the home building shows,
Hmm.
um, they're not going to show you how to cook, an average casserole, or an average roast, or turkey dinner. They're going to show you the fancy stuff. They're going to show you how to do really nice ones that most normal people wouldn't actually do for their family. They're going to build a home. Like the home building ones are usually either really, really nice homes, or they are homes for very, very poor people. Or things like that. Like it's just, they take unusual situations, extremely unusual situations, and they put them on TV. So they call them reality TV because it happens in real life, but it's not what normal people would experience. And I think that's why we watch them, is because, again, we're living vicariously through other people. We're living a life we wish we had, or we wish we didn't. We're glad we didn't have. I want to see what rich, mean people do, or I want to see um, what gay contractors do, or I want to see what how a a chef who likes to swear a lot, what he does on his cooking shows. Not that
Right.
any of us can think of an example of that.
and you hit the nail on the head too. And so it's having that reality to step outside of their
Of our own
own
reality.
place and looking into another. It's like looking inside the window, like being not so much a peeping tom, but you're looking inside someone else's life. But
Right.
how does that affect relationships? Because coming back to like those dating shows that are like even Love Island, or there's a few like that. Love Island. I know there's another couple that people talk about. There's and then you've got the marriage shows. You've got the what is it, the 90-day fiance. You've got you've got even like they go into culture with the gypsy weddings and all of that
Right.
lifestyle, showing that and I think sometimes those shows allow people to feel like, oh, this is someone like me. But there, it's like you said, an extreme version. So at that, like talking about that extreme version, how do you think that would be really affecting someone's relationship? Because you can't look at reality TV and then take that and look at your own life and think, okay, well, I want this extreme version of reality to be my reality. And so
Right.
I think that can be dangerous too, because you're
Yeah.
looking at that thinking, oh, that's perfect. But there's no such thing as perfect. Nobody's
Right.
perfect. I mean, all you see is what they give you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good question, because I think it does actually affect relationships. I wanna pick up on a phrase that you said. You said you can't just take what reality TV is and make it yours because it's not real. And the very fact that it's called reality TV, I think a lot of people, because it's called reality TV and they're clearly filming real people, I can actually have that because they have it. It is possible. It's something, and because it's possible, I want it, right? And therefore it does because it's coming up on a reality TV show. People decide that this is something they want, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
it's something they don't want. So they use it to look for red flags in their relationships, or they look for it, they look to it to decide what they want in their relationship. So they use it. It actually ends up people actually end up using reality TV show a lot of the time. I won't say most of the time, but a lot of the time, to judge their own relationships, either bad or good. They compare themselves or their relationships or their partners, especially, to the partners in the TV show. And, well, why can't you do like that? Or, I'm glad you don't do that. And it's much more often, why can't you do that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way for people to decide what they actually want in relationships, because then they don't have to go really read a relationship book or take a relationship class.
Mm-hmm.
They can just watch reality TV. This is what those people are doing, and the TV people are airing that. So clearly, that's got to be okay, and that isn't the point of TV. I think a lot of the time when we're watching these shows, we often forget of what the point of having TV is. It's meant to be entertaining. They don't film stuff because it represents real life. They film stuff because people watch it, and we don't watch what we find normal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're not going to watch a TV show that just feels like normal life to us. We're going to watch a TV show that is some extreme version of something we like or don't like.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Right?
I think if you look at it, if you were to take just Real Housewives, real
Yeah.
life like that, with maybe, I don't know. I mean, they did have that, but still, that was another inflated version, I think, of reality, of a real life family. Kate plus eight, wasn't that the
Yes.
lady who had
It
and
was
that's
John.
still
It was John and Kate plus 8 at one point.
John and Kate plus eight, right? I never watched it, but I knew about the show, and I think with that, and then there was another one with they had more kids. I forget what 18 and
Yes.
counting or something like that.
Yeah.
And so like that, still, I think that was maybe a little bit more toned down. But that one, 18 and counting, but I think the John and Kate plus eight, I think that might have been, they were trying to make that more of a family reality TV. But again, that skews the whole view of what real life is like, because it's not like that. Life,
Right.
you don't have all of these, a lot of people do. A lot of people have that lifestyle. They have the nannies, they have the drivers, they have money that's flowing at their disposal. But you also don't see that there is an actual behind the scenes to that. There's also all of maybe the financial issues that you don't see,
Yeah.
all of the emotional issues that you might not get to see that don't make it to reality TV. And then there's also the maybe what they might think is boring, but is real, but they don't show it to us, or they edit out stuff. And so when people start saying, oh, well, I wish you would act more like that person, or be more like that, or I wish I was like that person, or more like that, or I had that life, it's, when you wish for someone else's life, you're saying that yours isn't good enough, but who says theirs is better? They
Right.
might have a little bit more access to things than you do, but it doesn't mean that their life really is as grand as you think it is. It's just
Right.
what is being shown, and that's the clip that they're showing you.
Right.
So,
And actually, I like the example of John and Kate plus 8 because they ended in divorce.
mm-hmm.
The show ended because the two got divorced, and they tried to have another season where it was just Kate plus 8, and nobody watched, nobody cared.
Yes.
And I believe that was a good example of why they don't show normal people with their normal lives, because normal people have shit going on. And when the shit came out in their marriage, it broke up the whole marriage because that shit was national TV.
Yeah.
Right. So they couldn't just hide it. And he did some stuff, she did some stuff, and it was all over the news. And not just all over the American news. It was all over like Canadian. I'm sure it was all over Mexican news too, because
Yeah.
we watch American TV.
Yeah.
Right. So it does really affect people's lives. And so what I saw from that, actually, my own marriage, we talked about that, my wife and I, that show and what happened. And we actually had many, many arguments because of the reason they broke up, because we were having similar issues. And because they broke up, because they got a divorce because of that issue, I know a number of other families also got a divorce because of that issue. So how does reality affect how does reality TV affect relationships? Well, they break up too.
Yeah.
Right? Normal relationships, everyday relationships for people watching those shows can break up because of what happens in the show. I mean, obviously it's because of what happens in their own marriages, in their own lives, but the show brought those to light, accented them, and made them more of a of a confrontation. Whereas before they might have been just a discussion, or we might have been able to resolve it, or there might have been some sort of a compromise we came to. But because of the reality TV making it, everyday conversation, it wasn't something that we were going to, take some time and converse about calmly. We argued about it a lot. And that wasn't the reason her and I eventually broke up, but it was related. That was one of the topics that came up in when she eventually left. So, it does affect our individual personal relationships, because our own values, our own values and desires and ethics and that sort of stuff, we don't just create those in a vacuum. We create those because of what we see other people doing,
Mm-hmm.
because of how we see other relationships reacting. And if what we see is on reality TV, then a lot of our values is going to come from what we see on reality TV. And unfortunately, going back to the point I was saying a moment ago, because reality TV is not based on reality, it's based on entertainment, we're creating our values on a skewed and not quite normal or realistic representation of what most people's values are. We look at other people and we base our values on them, and we can only base our values on the things that we see, but we can't base our values on the things that are actually happening in their real lives. And when what's happening on reality TV is what we get to see, and like you said a moment ago, they hide the normal stuff. They don't show that because nobody's interested. They have an average discussion about, oh, this TV show was kind of fun to watch, let's watch another one. Nobody shows that because that's not what people want to watch. So people don't, so audience members, viewers don't say, oh, those are normal conversations, because they don't show normal people having those conversations. And again, they don't show normal people having those conversations, and they don't show normal people doing normal things, because then they get divorced, like John and Kate plus 8 did. So it's just a vicious circle of nobody watches normal people, so I don't get viewers, and I don't get advertising revenue. I don't get, we don't have a profitable business. So we put on what people will watch, and what people will watch isn't actual a representation of reality. It isn't an actual representation of what most people experience.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it is, I mean, while you were talking, a couple of movies came to mind for me: War of the Roses and The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston was in it with Vince. What's his last name? I can't remember. And then War of the Roses. And those two, so The War of the Roses was a nasty divorce, and The Breakup was a nasty breakup. And it started off with just a normal conversation in like The Breakup over lemons.
Yes.
Over just getting lemons. And that escalated. And I think what's happening is it's unfortunate that it can reflect back onto you what's already happening in your life. And I think that's what's happening with reality TV, is when you see things like that, it can reflect back on you, things that you were hoping to escape by watching someone else's life. But those things get reflected back to you. And so, like you said, with your experience around the John and Kate plus 8 and that whole breakup, it was just reflecting back to you and your ex-wife about specific issues you maybe had been kind of skirting around, and it just kind of brought it right into your face because you were making that a part of your routine. And I think that's what's happening with these reality TV shows, because they become part of people's routines. It's reflecting back on them a lot more, maybe the things that are going on in their life that they thought they were escaping from by watching reality TV, but it's not. Yeah. And so it is affecting, like you said, it's affecting the relationships of people, because they're seeing not only the stuff that all of the lifestyles that maybe they can't have but wish they did, but they're also seeing parts of those lifestyles being reflected back to them about how they interact with each other as couples on these reality TV shows, and how that's being reflected back to them. Like they are already having these issues, but they haven't really addressed them. And so I think and that's how I'm seeing how reality TV can affect people.
I agree completely. And to add to that point, when we watch, so my ex and I used to, disagree about, what happens in certain situations or how we might react in certain situations. And when we're watching a shoot 'em up or explosions movie, and I wouldn't have done that, or that doesn't seem realistic at all, and we have a disagreement about that. We're like, well, okay, so we disagree, but it's fiction anyway, so who cares, because it wouldn't really actually happen. But when we're watching reality TV, now the conversation becomes a lot more serious. Okay, well, this is what they actually did in real life. Would you do that? Or I wouldn't do that, but I would, right? And it then becomes a much more serious conversation, and therefore is more likely to become an argument. My wife and I did argue about, funny and fictional shows on occasion, but we've argued a lot more when we watched reality TV, because we did watch John and Kate plus 8 and that 18 and counting or whatever it was, because they eventually changed it because they had another baby, and I don't remember if it was 16 or 17 or whatever it started out as, but we watched both of them because the second one specifically was a very Christian family, and they were very Christian and conservative values, and we know a lot of families that are 8, 10, 12 kids with those same kinds of values, so we could relate to it. And we did get into those conversations a lot about, I don't agree with that value, or I do agree with that value, or that's an important one, or and because it was reality TV, now it was a much more the conversations had a lot more weight to them than if they were just fictional, right? And so I agree with you that that is, it does reflect back on us our own values, and whether they are values we want or values we'd rather not have. Oftentimes we are forced to face our own realities, forced to really look at our own lives in a way that we weren't necessarily prepared to, especially when we sit down to watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason we sit down to watch TV, is to, like you said, to check out a life for a bit. And then we end up having an argument because we were probably already stressed, or already, lacking something or short on something. So we wanted to sit down and relax and watch TV. And then instead of getting relaxed and chilling out for a while, we end up in a discussion or an argument, or maybe I'm just sitting there by myself. So I end up, reflecting on my own life. And so instead of getting that regeneration, which I was hoping for, I'm actually going deeper into the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which is what causes that reflection causes a lot of that problem. And that actually brings me right back around to coaching. You and I are both coaches, and this is what we help people do. We help them clear what's reflecting back at them.
Yeah.
That isn't the point of the channel, so I don't want to get into that conversation. But that's what got me into this business in the first place.
Yeah.
Is I wanted to clear some of those things. So that is what reality TV does to our relationships. I mean, it makes things a little more real. It makes our conversations and our characteristics, good or bad, a little more real. Right?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also think partly too that it might have us having those discussions that maybe turn into something that we didn't expect it to, because we go too deep, because it does hit too close to home as something that's possibly or could possibly be our reality. Like it just could remind you. You could even have a conversation with your significant other about something you just watched, about someone in your life, a previous relationship, and that can get you into a discussion / argument. And so, as much as I do love the reality TV programs, it can be easy to get swallowed up in that what you're seeing. And I think that could also be easy for you to like take that as truth, or as like, oh, that's what should be real, like that's how my life should be, that's how you should be. But again, it's like anything you see on social media, whether it's on television, all of the people that you see, all of your celebrities that you might follow and think that are amazing, that have amazing lifestyles, and you're like, oh, I wish I was like that, or they seem really humble and down to earth. It doesn't mean they don't have those moments that we don't get to see. It's just trying to stop putting these people who are in the limelight on these pedestals. Yes, you can admire them and really respect the work that they do to entertain you. But it's also like maybe stepping back and saying, okay, it is entertainment, and reminding yourself that it is entertainment. Again, same thing for reality TV, even if it hits close to home. It's not meant to be the reality that you face at home. It's just meant to entertain you, that there's people out there willing to go for it, because for me, I'm thinking, well, who are you going to sign? The person who says like, well, my life is just pretty normal, low key, down to earth. No, we don't really argue. We don't really have those discussions. No, we're pretty good. Would you want a well-rounded person on the show, or would you rather have someone who's going to like flip off at some point, right? Because they have buttons.
Crazy.
Yeah, they have buttons that can be pushed, that have values that can be like really questioned. And if somebody questions them, you don't even know if they're even being prompted. Like, who's to say that they haven't been asked to ask a question because they want the reaction? And so we don't know that. And so it's like getting really careful around our experience and allowing ourselves to say, okay, this is real people showing us a look at their life on television for all to see. But it doesn't necessarily mean that this is really everything that's true about what goes on in their life. Some of it could be that they are prompted, that they are given cues to do specific things? I don't know, because I'm not in that world, but you just kind of wonder sometimes when you watch these shows, because just some of the things that I've seen happen on some of the reality TV shows with the Real Housewives, as a person who, if someone was to tell me something in confidence, again, you are on television and you are talking to the other ladies, so it's not really in confidence. But at the time, I would think that, okay, I'm sharing with you. Please let me bring it up within the group. So that's kind of like where I'm going with that. But
yeah, I agree that a lot of the times with reality TV, they are prompted.
Yeah.
And I don't know this for sure, but I have heard some articles, some content creators talk about how especially in those family shows where they're following a family, or they're following certain people, especially if they're following a couple, or in the marriage shows where it's a lot of relationships, especially in those shows, the producers of the show, whether that's actually the producer or somebody in the same company, they hire people to dig into their lives, into the people's lives, so they can find things that they can then trigger them to talk about, so they can trigger them to experience, because they want to cause drama, because they're trying to. I mean, the secret to getting people to watch movies and TV is to get those viewers, to feel emotions. And it doesn't matter if they're good or bad emotions. If they feel emotions, they're going to keep watching. That's the magic of TV.
Yeah.
So whatever I've got to do as the TV producer, as the channel owner, as the company owner, I'm going to do to get you to keep watching. And if that means I'm going to trigger some emotions that are uncomfortable, then it's more money in my pocket, right?
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part about these TV shows, is some people do get triggered in big ways, and it does cause some serious results for some people. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like you said earlier, it is just remember, it's entertainment. Like, I don't have a problem with any kind of entertainment, as long as the people watching it understand that it's entertainment. It's no better to say reality TV affects relationships than it is to say that violence in video games causes violence, or drugs in music causes drug use.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is true to some extent, and yes, relationships are affected by reality TV, and they are only affected because the people consuming these things are not necessarily, not always, properly educated on what the point of it is. It's entertainment. Music is entertainment. Movies are entertainment. It's entertainment. Video games are entertainment. If we use them as entertainment, if we can approach them as entertainment, which most people do, I think, then they don't have to have that effect on our life.
Yeah.
And some people approach these things not from that mindset, from a different mindset, and that's, I think, where they can affect our expectations and our relationships.
Yeah. I think some of it too, I was just thinking about it while you were talking, is that people, a lot of time, I think when they are escaping from whatever their true reality is to watch someone else's reality, uh, there are specific things that maybe they don't feel good about themselves. And so they're looking for flaws in other people, but sometimes they find the same flaw that they see in themselves being reflected back. And so I think that's why there's that whole thing as well, where people feel like, oh, well, now I'm seeing what I didn't want to be, reflected back. I didn't want to see that this person didn't feel good about themselves, or that this person is being bullied, or this person has issues with whatever it is. And I'm now seeing myself somehow in that, like they're putting themselves right there because they feel a certain way. And so, yeah, I think that's why I think when you brought it back to coaching, that's why I think it's important for people to realize that we talk about these things because we know that our relationships are really being impacted by the stuff that we consume, whether it's on social media, whether it's reality TV, whether it's things that you read. A lot of my mom used to be a huge consumer of those Star magazine, all of those fluff magazines that would make stories up. Like, oh, three-headed alien seen walking down New York streets, and people are like, stopping to take selfies. Like that's that type of story. And people would like buy that stuff up, and people were making a killing at making up these stories. And so that was another way to escape, I think, reality. But I think when people are using the escape of their reality for things like this, it means that for things to escape their life. Is it to escape for just the moment of having the entertainment value, or is there something else going on? Because I think that's where you have to start thinking about it, because that's where it can affect your relationships. That's where I'm thinking.
Yeah. Again, like any other version of escapism, whether it's in books or video games or movies or reality TV or whatever it could be, when you're using escapism, it's good to know the why. Why are you trying to escape? Now, of course, it is good to escape, the troubles of life sometimes and just go, live in a fantasy world somewhere. And that's okay. Whether that's in a reality TV show, just living somebody else's life, or whether that's in an actual fantasy where it's like dragons and wizards and castles and you're just, living a make-believe fairy tale. Whatever the case may be, is there is some value to that. There is some reality to, or some healing to that, some energy regeneration to that, depending on the person, that you might want more or less of that. And if you're doing it, examine why. Because if you're doing it to escape the troubles of life, then is there something else you can do to deal with the troubles of life, like to actually heal some of those and get over some of those and learn to handle some of those in a healthier way? If you're doing it to to learn something new, well, why are you trying to learn something? Like I said at the start of this video, oftentimes I want to learn stuff that I will never use in my real life. So sometimes I have to examine, why do I care? I mean, I'm never going to use it. And then, so, it comes back to, why are you doing it? Because if you're doing it to fill your head up with stuff that isn't going to be useful, if you're doing it to experience something that isn't reality for you, if you're doing it to live a different life or be in a different place, what is it about the place you're in, the life you have, that you don't want to experience? And there might be a reason that you would want to handle that you would want to do something about that. And that's where this whole industry that we're in comes from.
Yeah.
Because we help people do that. Yeah. So, it does come down to looking at exactly, why are you trying to do stuff like this? Like I said, there's some value to some of it. And I know I used to play video games for, 12, 15 hours a day. I still do sometimes 4 or 5 hours a day, but not most days anymore. Now it's only a few days a week, couple days a week. Mm-hmm. So, there is some value to doing that sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of, are you doing it enough? Like if you come home from work every day, what's the difference between the person who comes home from work every day and drinks half a bottle of vodka to escape the stresses of life and family and all that, and the person who comes home from work every day and plugs themselves into a reality TV show so they don't have to deal with wife and kids or husband and kids or whatever? Right? What's the difference?
Yeah. And for me, my own personal opinion is that I throw out the why. I throw out I basically want to say, like, what's the purpose? Like, what's the reason? Why? And then the how do you get through? Because how does it help you? And for me, the why, because of the industry we're in, I feel like sometimes the why makes people start going down that rabbit hole of, well, the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy enough, or there's some negative attachment to the why. So I try to because you and I've had this conversation around shame and letting that go, is maybe leaving the why out of it, but then just looking at the what is it, and then the how is it helping you. And maybe then if you would say like, okay, what would you like to be different? How could you do whatever it is to make it different? If this is something that's affecting you in a way that it makes you feel a certain way, is it true? Like asking that question, is it really true that this is who you are? And does it have to be true? Because it doesn't have to be your truth. Look, it could be something you're going through right now, but it doesn't have to be something that you have to stay stuck in. There are ways for you to get out of specific, emotions, to move through them. But it's not so much that you have to go down that rabbit hole of asking yourself why you're still stuck here. Because when you start asking the why you're still stuck here, maybe you're going to get into that negative self-talk. Whereas instead, if you look at the what it is that's got you stuck, asking if it's true and does it have to be, figuring out the how is it serving you, and how you can actually move into something better and have supporting evidence to help you move through it. That's how I would approach it myself.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we're kind of saying a lot of the same stuff, as in, if you know why you're watching TV or watching reality TV or whatever the thing is, watching social media, spending so much time on Facebook, if you know why it is, and it isn't a good thing, and it isn't something you're proud of, and it isn't something you are trying to accomplish, it isn't a goal you have, it isn't something you want, then that's the time to figure out, what do you want to do about it? What is the result you do want? What is the feeling you do want? What is the life you do want? And how do you get that? Right? It is very much. And the reason I started with the why is because a lot of the guys that I talk to don't even know why they do stuff. I don't know why I drink. I don't know why I do that. Well, maybe let's start there. Right. And so it is. It isn't, because you're right. A lot of people they ask themselves why, and they get into that rabbit hole. Well, because I'm a piece of shit, because nobody ever likes me. Nobody's ever going to love me. I'm just worthless, all of that sort of stuff. People do get into that rabbit hole. I've been in that rabbit hole. And it is. So the why can be a dangerous place to go if you don't have what to do
someone
next.
To help you. And I think the what questions are really, really helpful. That's why I try to lead people into what questions, because what questions have you thinking of answers rather than trying to like make yourself feel bad about yourself. It starts making you think about, well, this is the what, how, and then you start thinking of the how. Well, how do I get from the what to the how to this place that I want to be? And so that's why I love to do that. I think it's a great topic. I love this topic. By the way, I just wanted to say something really fun. You had said something earlier, and I forget exactly. But you were like, Bill Maher is like someone I watched him. It's another reality show, right? But it's politics and all of that. So again, it's what's your flavor of reality TV? And I have my dog over here, like he's giving me head up. He's telling me like, what's up? I'm hungry. But he used to say, he'd have this segment in there saying, I don't know if it for a fact, I just know it's true. And then he would go through like things. So you had said something. I had to say something about it because it reminded me when you were saying like, I don't necessarily know if it's true, but when you started down that, I was like, I have to find that because it was just too funny. So I'm sorry, I did not mean to take us off track. But you know what? That's the one, what I wanted to kind of, I guess, do. It was not so much intentional, but now that I'm thinking, I think it might have been really good to do this because this is not like a place where you come to like, to get, your things that are going on in your life reflected back at you to make you feel bad. This is a place for you to come to be, yes, entertained, but hopefully to start thinking about specific things that you do in your life and thinking about, well, how am I living my life? And this is how I want to be living my life. And if I want change, how do I actually do whatever it is I need to do to make change? So, but I did want to like bring that up. So I just thought it was fun.
It is fun. And I believe I think that's why we ended up talking, around, like most of the videos on our channel, we've got cultural videos, we've got relationship videos, we've got personal videos, but it's all around expectations. And that's because I think you and I are looking to talk about expectations so that we can help people understand where their expectations are coming from and decide for themselves if they want to keep them. Being a little more intentional rather than having expectations for because we're supposed to, because some reality TV show says this is what you should think. We choose what our expectations are based on, as you were saying, what you want and how you get it. Right? Let's choose what our expectations are. Let's decide what our expectations are. That doesn't mean that what we get out of reality TV is a bad thing. It might actually reflect back on us something we like or want to keep, or that we maybe didn't know about. It might help us to make better decisions. So experiencing more things isn't a bad thing if it helps you decide what you want in your life. Right?
Yes, because you want to live your life. You want to be doing. You want to be the person that you want. You want to be doing things. You want to be living and experiencing. And so, if reality TV is part of that, it's again sometimes if you want to because there's a lot out there that you can just start like sitting back and just consuming, but there's also other parts of life that you can be doing too, right? But it's just what floats your boat. But make sure that it's not all about reflecting, looking outside of yourself because you're escaping flaws that you don't like about yourself and you're thinking it's going to make you feel better. If that's the case, I would just suggest if you've got a really good friend and you're feeling like you're not doing it, you're not feeling it, your life is not where you want it to be. I just love that cup. If it's not what you want for your life, then talk to your friend, because that person, someone that you can trust, someone that like and trust. And you hear that a lot used in the terms of when people say, oh, if they want to hire a coach, it's someone that like and trust, or you want to buy someone's products, it's someone like and trust. But I really truly feel that having those people in your corner that are really that close to you, that you can share the things that you need to share, that you need help with, just guidance, if you just need a shoulder to lean on and just someone to listen to you, having that person rather to be the person that you go to rather than you go to reality TV to get that fix. I would rather you go to your friend and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm going through, this is what I need from you, and that friend pouring into you, or whoever that is pouring into you, and you feel immediately better, and then you can go watch a reality TV show, and you're not watching that reality TV show from the same mental space because someone already took you through it, right? That's what so I'm hoping, if I could impart any wisdom at all, it would be to do that.
You impart plenty of wisdom. I think both of us do. I think that's the point of this channel. And I agree completely. We do need support systems. We do need people we can talk to. Oftentimes, that's why people hire coaches, is because they don't have somebody in their life that they can actually know, like, and trust the way they want to. So we do hire coaches for that reason. I know that's what I hired a coach for in the very first time. And so it is important to have somebody, like a person you can talk to, you can confide in, someone who can help you work through different questions that you might have, or emotions that you might have, and somebody that you can just confide in and relate to, and somebody other than your spouse. Your spouse is good for many of those things, and if you only rely on your spouse for that, you're putting an awful lot of pressure on one person. You should have at least one other person besides your spouse.
Yeah, I agree. So we are at the top of the hour. Wow, I cannot believe the time has just gone by again.
We do that.
That's what happens. But yeah, if you found value, I'd love to get a comment. Like, just comment, and one of us will reach out to you if you have a question, or you just simply want to comment. If you like this video, please press the like button, and if you want to hear more, press the subscribe so you don't miss out. We go live twice a month right now, the second and last Thursdays of each month. So we will be going live again
In 2 weeks.
On the 26th, Thursday the 26th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to be talking about a really great topic. We're now going to be moving out of cultural differences, out of cultural expectations into relationships and back into relationships. And we're going to be talking about a really super sexy topic: to marry or not to marry. Ooh.
There's the question.
So thank you. I hope you found value. We really appreciate you coming on and listening. We value your support. If you have any questions, in the About section, you will find our emails. You can contact us. This is purely for your education, just to listen to us. Maybe you got value, something that you could take going forward with your life. And if you have any questions, you have any comments, or you have any topics you'd like to hear about, please comment and let us know, or reach out to us directly. We hope you enjoyed it tonight, and we will see you all again in 2
See you, everybody.
weeks. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.